On the 21st of February 2006, one of the UK's largest cash heists targeted the town of Tonbridge in Kent, England. It was the night of the Securitas Depot robbery, a daring robbery that would become the largest cash robbery known in British history. The depot held various amounts of cash, ready to be distributed to banks and ATMs across the region. Despite advanced security systems, including high-tech CCTV cameras, motion detectors, and strict access controls, the depot fell victim to one of the most audacious criminal operations ever executed. But did the criminals get caught? Or are they still enjoying a lavish, free life? Well, let's find out. The Securitas company was known for being very safe, with strong security and buildings that were difficult to break into. It was so well known that everybody trusted it. This was the case in Tonbridge. But the confidence in their security came crashing down when it was breached by a group of criminals who had spent months studying and preparing for ways to overcome every obstacle that stood in their way. Now, planning for the robbery of the Securitas Depot started long before that night. The mastermind behind this was a man named Lee Murray, a mixed martial artist who had become a powerful criminal. Known for his strength and cleverness, Murray carefully prepared for the crime with a close group of partners. They understood that to pull off something this big, they needed more than just a good team. It would also require strategy, deception, and faultless execution. The first order of business in this plan was gathering information. The gang spent weeks studying the depot for workers' routines, the layout of the building, and when cash was delivered. They noted down every single detail, from the shifts of the security guards at the compound to where the cameras were located, leaving no stones untouched. The gang also carried out missions where they studied the reactions of the employees, where they role-played as delivery drivers or simply strolled around the depot, noting the arrivals and departures of the staff. Even the blueprints of the depot were accessed, and they used this to map out their plan with precision. The gang knew that just having the right information wasn't enough. They needed a way to get into the depot without setting off any alarms. This is where their most clever idea came in: pretending to be police officers. The gang got hold of police uniforms, complete with badges, and even changed a van to look exactly like a real police vehicle. This way, they could get to their target without anyone suspecting a thing. After all, who would question police officers in uniform? As the day of the heist got closer, the gang practiced their plan again and again, making sure they didn't miss a single detail. The gang understood one thing: that the success behind this heist would be executing the plan without a single mistake. And the stakes were high. Why? Well, because this wasn't some small-scale crime. They intended to take hostages, too. One wrong step and they could all end up in jail. But then, £53 million in cash proved to be too great a bait to miss. On the night of the heist, the gang set their plan into motion. Dressed in police equipment, they halted Colin Dixon, the manager of the Securitas Depot, as he drove home one evening along the A249. Dixon had no reason to suspect that the men who pulled him over were anything other than legitimate police officers. But as soon as he was out of his car, the trick was revealed. They went on to handcuff Dixon and then threw him behind their van before driving down to his home in an attempt to deceive his wife Lynn and young son. And they sure did succeed. They informed the family that Colin crashed his car and that they should follow them to meet Colin. However, when Lynn realized this was all a game, it was too late, and they became hostages. The message was clear: cooperate, or your family suffers the consequences. Now, with Dixon and his family in their custody, they had the leverage they needed to get into the depot. They took Dixon to the depot, where he was told to use his access codes to let them in. With his family in danger, Dixon was in no position to refuse. The gang entered the depot without raising any alarms, as Dixon's cooperation meant security systems remained off. Once inside, the gang moved quickly and efficiently, subduing staff and taking control of the facility. There, the 14 staff at the depot could do nothing but watch, now bound and at gunpoint, as the gang set to work. The robbers knew precisely where the cash was kept and started transferring all their loot into the runaround cars, which had accompanied the raiders. And then on the 22nd of February 2006, a heavy load of $53 million in used notes was stolen. The heavy weight was not a problem for the gang, since they had vehicles with reinforced suspension ready to handle such a heavy load. The heist took just over an hour. After the cash had been loaded, the gang made its getaway, leaving staff bound and helpless on the depot floor. What was shocking was that the gang left behind £154 million. Why? Well, because they had no means to transport it. The whole operation had gone without a hitch, and the gang vanished into the night with their haul. It wasn't until several hours later that the police were alerted, by which time the criminals were long gone. But soon, this heist welcomed a lot of chaos. What followed was one of the biggest manhunts ever undertaken by any British police force, chasing a gang of criminals who had left no stone unturned to cover every trace of their movement. Horrified and intrigued, the public picked up all the information available about the crime, and the media went into overdrive. Its sheer boldness gripped the imagination of the nation. Who were these criminals, and how had they pulled off such a massive robbery? The investigation began with the few clues left behind at the depot. Forensic teams combed every inch of the scene for leads, as the detectives watched the CCTV footage to somehow recognize the culprits. One of the very earliest leads arrived when police identified the fake police uniforms and vehicles used in the heist, leading them to a car dealership where one of the vehicles had been purchased, providing them with a crucial lead. More and more pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place as the investigation action continued. Police soon discovered that Lee Murray had been the main man in planning and carrying out the heist. From there, Murray became the chief suspect. The police were already well aware of him as a criminal from previous instances. Surveillance on Murray and his associates produced more names. In the months following the robbery, the police were able to arrest a number of individuals connected with the heist, including Murray himself. It was these arrests that brought on a line of high-profile trials in which the detailed planning and execution of the robbery were revealed. The events of the trial were treated with full media attention, as if the public seemed eager to see what kind of scum would conceive of such a crime. A number of members of the gang were convicted and were handed heavy prison sentences. But this wasn't the end of it all. The police struggled with yet another daunting task. Out of $53 million that was stolen, $32 million was still missing, along with the other suspects that walked free. This has spawned a number of theories regarding what actually happened to the missing millions and the fate of those who evaded justice. Some believe that the money was hidden away in secret locations. Others think that it was laundered and spent, never to be traced again. This heist shook the entire nation and left an impact on the law agencies and security protocols. It was an eye-opener to the loopholes in a supposedly tight system. The years since have seen security measures mended, with lessons learned from the heist put into practice to ensure that it never happens again. The impact of the Securitas Depot robbery, however, extends beyond the immediate effect on security. It strikes something deep in the cultural consciousness, symbolic of the audacity of the criminals, and perhaps the challenges of law enforcement in modern times. There have been books written about it, documentaries, and dramatizations that guarantee the story will go on fascinating and intriguing people. To this day, nearly 2 decades on, the Securitas Depot robbery is remembered not just for the huge amount of cash spirited away, but the lengths people can go to for being greedy. Now, what do you think of this case? Do you think the uncaptured people are living a lavish life, or are they hiding in fear of being caught? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more updates. See you next time.